Hey everybody, welcome to Houdini Hangout. It is the 2nd of August. I can't believe we're already in August here. But yeah, welcome to the stream tonight. Thanks so much for joining. Hope you are doing well. We're at a little bit of an unorthodox time tonight, but I figured, why not? We'll do it a little earlier today and see if we can't include some of our European friends that might normally be heading off to bed. Maybe we can catch them before they start wrapping up for the evening. But so hopefully time's a little bit more convenient for some of you, maybe less convenient for others, but you never know. It is 6 p.m. here on the East Coast in North America, so it shouldn't be too early for anybody, but so yeah, as the title of the hey guys, how's it going? Tom, yeah, nice to have you. Normally you're not awake at this point. Tom and I have connected in person a couple times when I was over in Europe. Actually, he attended one of my only workshop I've ever done, so that was pretty exciting. But over in London, but yeah. Yeah, so as the title, hey, Ruben, welcome to the stream. KG, welcome. Glad to have you all here. As the title suggests, I kind of saw a little thing online this week, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to try this out, and I forgot to grab the little visual of it. Yes, there it is. So, let's see here. I'm going to grab this. I saw a little visual online, and hey, Pannerman, welcome to the stream. So I found this little thing here, and, I think it's a little ambitious, but we're going to take a look at it. I saw this reposted from Houdini School. Looks like a guy, Vlad, made this from Singapore. I just want to kind of play around a little bit with this kind of stuff. I don't know how close we'll be able to get to it, but I think it's fun. It's kind of like a pyro-y thing. And, obviously we're not going to get into all the shading and all that kind of stuff. That's usually not my style. Don't usually have time to get into that stuff, but kind of want to play around with it, see what we can do. This last little visual here seems like something that could be possible. So maybe we'll play around with that, see what we can get, see if we can't do some viscosy stuff. I don't know if it'll look quite as slick as all of this stuff does, but yeah, it might look okay. You never know. But yeah, we'll play around, see what we can get, and suggestions are always welcome, and always good to have feedback from everybody else. So yeah, what I'll say is my normal spiel. I'll just say that, if you guys have comments or questions or thoughts or anything like that, please put them in the chat. I always like to hear from all of you as I'm working or doing whatever. This isn't just me, trying to, teach some specific thing. Sometimes I do that on here, and I've done that a few different times. But even in that case, I always like to have a bit more of audience participation and have a chance to hear from all of you and what you think. And, oh, hey, have you tried this? Or questions about what I'm doing, or suggestions, or hey, you're doing this completely wrong. Not here to pretend to be the be all end all in Houdini. Obviously that is not, I don't think, possible. Maybe there's a couple people that know are pretty close to knowing most of it, but I think it's kind of always a thing where you're constantly learning. So that's kind of how we position this. So no stupid questions, no stupid suggestions. If you think maybe it's something that I don't. So I'm always thrilled to hear from you guys to, I like to learn from these things as well. So, yeah, but other than that, I think that's going to be kind of what we're going to try to do tonight. Some kind of viscosy, smoky kind of thing. Probably making some custom velocity attributes for sourcing into our pyro, and then, you know, going from there and upping some drag and things like that to help kind of slow this smoke down as we kind of push it into our scene. So yeah, I think that's about it. Let's dive in and see what we can't get into in some Houdini. All right, so there's going to be, I think, kind of two distinct steps for this idea, or kind of to work in this. And I think the first thing we're going to do is set up just a source that does something that we like. And then from there, I think I want to try to use the pyro instancing to get some really nice, quicker kind of feedback simulations to kind of see what's happening a little bit more using the minimal solver, the pyro minimal solver. And I think that'll get us some really interesting results. So that's kind of my thought. Like I said, the first step is going to be just making a source and kind of pushing some smoke around, basically, right? So we probably will add some little extra solver stuff inside of the pyro sim. I don't know if it has all the viscosity and drag stuff on the actual solver. I can't remember, but we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get there. But okay, cool. So let's do this. So let's make a geo node. I think I'm going to just do this all with the SOPs stuff, unless I run into some reason that I can't, and then I'll move over to DOPS, I guess. But for right now, we'll try it with the SOPs stuff. So let's just say sim viscous pyro, purple for my simulation nodes. All right, so let's so I think what we're going to do to start, I think just having a sphere to source will be fine. I think that'll be good for right now. Let's do that, and we'll kind of go from there. I think that'll work. I'm just looking at this again. So let's do that. Let's just take a sphere, and let's make it a bit smaller here. Let me turn on my little visualizer thing. Did that do it? There we go. So at least you can kind of see what I'm doing here. All right, so let's maybe put this down to a quarter. We'll see how that goes. See if that's too big, too small. We'll see. All right, so let's do a pyro source here. Yeah, there is some weird stuff going on there too. I'm not really too worried about. I think what you're talking about is this thing right there. Yeah, like right. Oh, there we go. There's audio. Can we not have audio? Thank you. Yeah, like right in there, there's definitely some like weird deforming stuff going on after. But yeah, there's some interesting things happening there. Yeah, like right there, it kind of goes whoop. So I don't know what that is. Not sure exactly what's going on there, but I'm not going to worry so much about these little details if that's what you're talking about. We're going to get the main body of the thing kind of moving and then go from there. Also, I hate this. I hate that this is called X now. This is so stupid. I just hate it. It's so annoying. Anyways, sorry. Minor rant. It just feels like the world is just weird now. Anyways, okay, so we've got our pyro source. Let's do, instead of keep input. Now you could obviously, have points on an object here, or, whatever, and keep your input coming through. Obviously in this case, it's just keeping the points of the sphere. Instead of that, I'm going to do a volume scatter, and let's do, I don't know, 0.25, something like that. Feels a little too dense still. Let's do like that, maybe. There we go. That feels reasonable. We'll see if we want some more dense points. I don't want to go too crazy to start with. And let's initialize our smoke. So basically what that's doing is just adding a couple of attributes here onto the points, which we are going to use for our rasterize. So what we're going to do is do a volume rasterize attributes here, and what we're going to do is we're going to grab the attributes that we want to that we want to rasterize. In this case, density, you can grab temperature as well. Those will be rasterized. I believe we want to do that, normalize it by the clamped coverage, I believe. Let's see here. So what we're going to need to do is change our voxel size. Let's see, let's reduce that a little bit here so we get a better representation of that. Probably close to that particle scale. Can't remember if it's better to go lower. Let's just copy that particle scale over for right now. Particle separation, I should say. We don't need to do any velocity blur at the moment. Oh, right. We will want velocity though. That's true. So let's do this. We're gonna add some velocity in here, and that's gonna grab a velocity attribute. Well, it's actually gonna create a velocity attribute. What we actually want to do is manipulate it in here. So, yeah, let's think about that here. Let's just do a attribute adjust vector for right now. We'll just put this in the middle. Oops. That's V. It's going to be working on V as it is. So that's going to be adding in a velocity attribute. Let's do, for now, let's just do some noise on it. I'm going to hit the little visualizer thing here so we can kind of see what direction it's going in. And okay, let's maybe, oh, right. So right now it's only positive. So that's why it's only going in this positive direction. What I'm going to do is probably zero center that. Let's see here. So right now, oh, right. This is giving us a 111 value. So let's just initialize that to 0. That's going to be better. There we go. So so now we've got this working. We can obviously adjust this around. However, just want to see, is that? Yeah, there we go. Set. Just going to kind of actually keep the element size a little bit higher because we want it to all sort of go in the same direction, right? So we'll just kind of keep it as is for right now. Maybe actually even go a little further with that. Just want to see what this looks like if we animate it just to see here. Okay. We could also obviously make these all unit vectors, and then they're just going to always be 1, but we're not going to do that. Okay, cool. So we've got some noise here that we can obviously play around with. Not a huge deal for right now. We'll just leave it as is. We're also going to grab that V and rasterize that as well. Cool. Just trying to think here, which will actually... we want that on. And cool, that looks good. Let's just do this here. We'll just name some of these random V, or let's say noise V. And this is rasterize attributes there. All right, so let's do a pyro solver. And I believe we should be able to kind of just go with this, but we're kind of low on the voxel size. So let's, hey, Zach, how's it going, man? So let's also do this here. Copy, oops. Maybe we'll do this the other way. Maybe we'll copy this parameter and put it into these. So we'll just change this around the other way and then paste relative references there. So now if we set this to 5 like that. We're going to get a little bit of a more dense little higher resolution. All right, let's just see where this gets us. Yep, cool. That's what I would expect. Just shooting up in the air. And it's also, oh, right, because that's also coming from our temperature as well. In fact, I don't think we're going to want to do temperature per se, because let's move this out of here and let's not rasterize temperature. Get that out of here. Because what temperature is going to do is it's actually going to give us that kind of buoyancy effect, right? And so that's going to kind of override that's going to override the velocity quite a bit, because when we have that temperature coming in, right, that is going to cause this to kind of float up. And that's not what we want, right? We don't want this to be a floating up simulation. We want it to be kind of staying still and having the velocity really kind of drive this whole sim, right? So I'm going to turn up my cache memory a little bit. Just make sure I can actually save this, store this all out without losing my cache. I think I'm going to reduce the number of frames here to 120, just so I have a little bit more to go off of. So here you can see our noise is obviously is working, and we've got kind of some stuff floating around. Now there's a few different things that we're going to have to kind of think about here, right? So first of all, we have our smoke disappearing, which we don't want, right? We don't want the smoke to disappear. So that's kind of issue number one here. So let's tackle that first, because that's a pretty simple one to do. So what we can do is we can go into our pyro solver here. We might adjust some of these things here, but for right now, let's go over into our fields, correct? Fields. And this dissipation is actually what is causing that smoke to disappear, right? So if we turn this dissipation off, we should see that smoke will stay now. So now our smoke is going to stay. Now that doesn't mean that it's not going to, kind of thin out a little bit, because its velocity is kind of pushing it away. However, it's going to oh, we are losing it a little bit there at the end. So I'm going to take a look at that so that we'll see what we can do here. I think it's not diffusion. We'll see. We'll see what's causing that. I feel like it's a little bit from it just spreading out in general. Like it's still sort of there, but I think there could be some other forces that are causing that to push around. I bet you it's some different velocity forces and things like that. Okay. So the other thing too here is that obviously our density scale is going to affect things as well. So if we adjust our density to, well, this is our visualization of it, right? So this is going to give us a bit of a more dense look here, right? Obviously, as we're visualizing this. This is probably actually going to be okay. What we could do as well is we could, let's see, we could set this back to 1 for the scale of the density, and we should be able to also up the, we should be able to up this to 5 and see that. Yep. So now we're bringing in a density of 5. So this should automatically give us a much higher density attribute, basically, that's getting sourced into the into our pyro sim. So this already is, I think, going to do quite a bit of what we want it to. It's going to help visualize it a little bit more strongly. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down just a little bit, maybe to 2, and just see that's going to give us a little bit more speed here as well. Just as we're kind of working here, I don't need to go quite to that small of a voxel level. You can see we've got quite a few voxels already in our viewport going on here. So there are a few different things that we might want to do here. Like convert this to a VDB would be probably helpful. Now we are going to get a little bit of this like banding that's going on here. I believe that's because it's constantly changing the boundaries and things like that. It's constantly kind of resampling this, but this will play back much better in general, I believe, as long as, yeah, let me see here. Yeah. So on this output tab here, this allows you to do a few different things. Like you can output, you can select which fields you want to output. Like we actually don't need to output this temperature field, totally unnecessary. We don't need to output the flame field. We might output the CD field eventually, so that could be helpful. But this is obviously going to help with reducing the amount of voxels that are coming out, right? And actually, in this case, converting it to a VDB is probably slower because you're converting it every frame. But if you were caching this or whatever, this is going to be a much better thing to do, right? So you could convert it here. There's also some, what is it? Pyro configure. Sorry, there's quite a few of these now. I think it's post-process. Yeah, this could also do it as well. So you could, you could, whatever your workflow might look like. This is happening here with standard kind of like dense grids that are being used from standard Houdini volumes, basically. So there's a couple different kind of things that I'm seeing here. So one is we have these kind of grid lines here that are showing up. So that's kind of funky. And the reason for that is the velocity is going, it's moving too quick and actually getting outside of the what's the name of it? The active voxels. So let's visualize kind of what's going on here, right? And maybe let's talk a little bit about what's actually happening with this pyro solver and why it's set to sparse and some things like that. So let's do that. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember where that is in here. Field guides. Here we go. So there's our voxel size, right? So that's the actual voxel grid that's in our simulation. You can see those are the size of the voxels as we're working. That's just taking too long to calculate, but hopefully you can sort of see that these are our sizes for our voxels, right? And you can sort of see that these match up here. So the bounding box obviously is the bounding box to the simulation. This is going to match up sort of 1-to-1 with this other bounding box we saw before. So if we turn this off, we still see that there's a bounding box. I'm not sure if we change this to, yeah. So if we change this to smooth shaded or flat shaded, these don't have the wireframes, but with any wireframe on it, you're going to see this. So that's something to keep in mind. So smooth shaded won't show you it with these, the bounding box on it. So you might want to do, a visualized bounding box this way. And so this is showing us kind of the extents to which the simulation has expanded to, right? But since this is a sparse simulation, we actually have a thing called an active region. And this is, in a sparse simulation, what is actually being activated and actually being worked on. So if we look at this versus our bounding box, we can see that it is quite a bit less active in some of these areas, like down here where there's not going to be anything being simulated into it, right? So this is really important to kind of keep in mind. And this is where some of these lines are actually coming from because it's not moving out of the way quite fast enough. In fact, you might even be able to see kind of the times where this happens. Yeah, so it's probably like somewhere in here. We're probably getting some interaction between the bounding box, like this active voxels, and like there it's probably happening. So you're getting a little bit of impartation from this kind of sharp bounding box or this active region. So there are some ways to work with that, and that is, it's in here somewhere. Sorry, just thinking about where this goes. It is in here somewhere. Where is it? Turn off the flame. We don't need flame. Sourcing. So this we're going to adjust a little bit later. Oh, I'm going to turn off this. We don't need to input temperature. We don't need to input burn. Don't need either of those. That's fine. Collision, no. Bounds. Okay, this must be where it is. Yes. So what we want to do is, I believe we want to turn this on here, expand by velocity. I think that's going to help us a little bit. No, still getting it there. Let's up this padding here a little bit. That's going to help. At least it should. All right, so let's do this. Okay, so this is actually probably what we want to do right here. This is what this is saying is basically this is the adaptive padding for the sparse active region. So this is what we want. And this would be... Yeah, so both of these are going to be things that we're going to want to work with. So let's just maybe up this a little bit to 3. Just see where that gets us to. Nope, still getting a little bit there. Let's maybe do this. Yep, that seems to be helping a little bit. Oops. So what we're going to do is just kind of keep playing around with these values a little bit here. See if we can't get this a little bit. So add a little more padding on there. And let's see if we can't do this. I don't know if this is going to work or not, adding velocity in here. Just going to go back. Nope. Okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if that would help us out, but it doesn't. We can just do density. We don't have flame. Just going to keep kind of upping these a little bit here just to see if that gets us into a better spot. Yeah, I feel like it's smoothed a little bit out. We are still getting a little bit of weird little kinks and stuff in it, but for right now, we're just going to let that be, and we'll kind of continue along. Could also be sub-steps as well. You know, adding in some sub-steps might help with getting some better overall motion to the simulation. Let's take a look at this, see what that does for us. Yeah, actually looks like that helps a bit too. So anyways, so we've got our pyro solver here, but what we're going to want to do is kind of source this in probably like a little burst of something, right? We don't really want it to just continuously flow this whole time. I'm going to turn off the active region. I'm just going to say no. And let's turn back on our wire shading. Okay. And also turn this down just a little bit. just to get a little more speed out of it. I always forget too that pyro bake volume, I think, has it in it. Yep. So there is actually a separate visualization of these, like where you can change the resolution of it. And so this will actually raise and lower the visualization in your viewport. So I think we're at a good spot here where it's still fine. But this is the maximum like resolution on each side, basically. So you can reduce that as well. So you could just play it back with like a really low resolution or whatever. But just if you need better viewport performance or whatnot. But hey, Mr. J, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. All right, so we've got this pyro sim going. Let's look a little bit at what we could do here. So what we want to do is kind of adjust maybe our source scale here. So what we could do is give it a little burst to kind of see if we just put a puff out there, what that's going to kind of do for us. So let's give a little bit more velocity maybe. Maybe we'll just give this, we'll do 2 amplitude there. We still have a pretty good amount of density here, so that's good. All right, so let's just animate these parameters. So what I'm going to do is just say, maybe we'll go at frame 6 or something like that. So I'm just going to turn this off for right now. So maybe at 6, we'll hit the scale at 1 for both of them. Here we'll set it to 0. And then maybe we'll just give it like, I don't know, 6 frames or something like that. Go back down to 0 as well. So we should have it just go poof, and then kind of die down. So let's see what that does. Might need a little bit more time than that, but yep. It's almost like a little jellyfish now. Kind of funky. Cool. That's fun. All right, could actually probably adjust this just a little bit. So this could actually come down a little. Just maybe get a little bit more density there, or a little bit more resolution. I'm also going to up the density scale just a little bit, just to make sure we're really seeing it here in the viewport. So what I obviously want this to do is not just keep drifting like this, right? That's kind of an obvious point in all of this, is we really want this to kind of come to a more slow stop than this, right? And not just keep drifting like that. So let's take a look at what kind of controls. Oh, cool. Thanks for the subscription, Mr. J. Appreciate it. So what we want to do is look at our options here. So what we can do is adjust the shape of it, right? So we don't need buoyancy because we're not going to be using that at all. What we could do is turn on this viscosity here and let this kind of play up a little for us. So let's just see what a viscosity of 1 is going to do here. So I think what I'm going to do actually before I do that is let's just kind of do a reference kind of baseline here. So we'll just have this kind of shoot out, do its thing. I'm just going to cache out sorry, not cache out. I'm going to do a flipbook of the viewport. So let's do this. Yeah. What I should do though first is put a camera down so I don't keep moving this around or anything like that. Do I offer courses in learning Houdini? Oh, that's interesting. I don't really make courses for online like this. I work, in the daytime, I do work for side effects to do, to work on the education and training in the education and training department. But so I have made a couple courses that have made their way onto the internet. This is kind of my on the side fun personal stuff. So I don't really like set. I make courses in my daytime, so I don't really set out to make courses here. Kind of in my fun spare time. I have done some series. Like recently, I did a whole series on Vellum. I also went through The Joy of Vex from Matt Estella. But first of all, if you want to, if anybody wants to get the Discord info, there's the server. You can get it from HoudiniHangout.com. There's an invite on there, and that'll send you right to the Discord. It's a lot of really great people are in there. Even when like this weekend, I wasn't really able to be on there, but people jump in and give each other, little comments and help and things like that. So, but obviously, if you have questions about something that I've taught, I'm always happy to try to answer it too. But through that, you could probably find some of the stuff on the Joy of Vex and that I did kind of at the beginning of the year. Matt Estella is his CG. Yeah, that is why it's Hangout. Exactly. It's a little more casual. It's a little more chill. Always this is a really kind of a low key space to just have people come, drop their ideas in, ask questions, suggestions, whatever. I mean, even if the suggestion completely derails the topic for a little bit, I'm happy to kind of, answer those as makes sense. Right. Yeah, certainly that is why it is a Hangout after all. But yeah, so I have made there are a couple USD courses that I've made that you'll find on the Side Effects website. But yeah, not a ton, but yeah, I don't know. Last year I did zero like pre-figured out stuff. This past year I've done a lot more stuff that I've planned ahead of time. This one is not one of them, but so I'm always kind of open to what ideas people have and things like that. All right. So anyways, there you go. There's an answer to that question. All right. So here's our camera. I don't want to lock that down because I'll always move out of it. Cool. All right. So we got this way. I can jump back to that if I need to. All right. Flip book it now. Okay. We've got our simulation here. All right. So what I want to do now is turn on this viscosity, right? So let's turn this on. Just leave it at 1. I think we're going to need a lot more than that, but sometimes you never know. Sometimes 1 is a lot. Sometimes it's not. You always have to play with these. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, guess 1's more than I thought it would be. I always love that when you get ready, when you're doing something, you're like, maybe this will be good. All right, so let's turn that way down. 0.1. Okay. 1 is a brick wall. It's good to know. Hey, watch it, Tom. I already laughed at myself. I always love those moments where you're like, oh yeah, maybe that. No, that's not a thing. Oh, that's so funky. Look at that. Oh, that's really interesting. I would never have expected that to be what happens from just pushing it like that in one direction. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, let's try 0.3. I'm going to jump back to my camera. So we've got this. Kind of see what happens here. Maybe I'll up the right. That is a great comment. It's either a good laugh or a panic press of the escape key. I remember when I was first learning Houdini that somebody, I don't remember where I saw it, but someone was like, you should always have some good object on your desk. I actually don't have one here, but I remember like something heavy that you can just set on your escape key and go get a cup of coffee, because sometimes you just need to spam the escape key and just walk away and cry a little bit. But yeah, actually, I remember I had, what did I have? It was either like a stapler or like a roll of tape. And obviously I never really used either of them in a studio, but it was definitely my escape key presser because I had like a mechanical keyboard. So it was raised up so I could kind of sit it on the escape key and just let it spam away for a good long bit and just hope that got me out of whatever jam I had put myself into. But yeah, it's either a good laugh or an escape key. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's really funky. I feel like we're gonna need some more random velocities in there because it's obviously way too solid in that direction. But this is certainly doing something interesting now, right? We've got this kind of drifting simulation that's just kind of chilling there, right? It's pretty interesting, I think. So that's really cool. And the other thing that I want to kind of make sure that I'm thinking about is I want this to be I want to create some short little bursty kind of sources, because what I'm going to eventually do is instance these, and then you can kind of scatter them and randomly shoot them around and kind of play around with it from there. Need some Houdini Hangout branded giant escape key weight. Oh, that's amazing. I mean, technically, my wife made me a coffee mug that says Houdini Hangouts. I mean, here I've got my SIGGRAPH coffee mug from last year. But I mean, that would technically be probably hefty enough to do the trick. But yeah, I haven't gotten into the thought of swag. Oh, actually here. Yeah, just get one of these, put a Houdini Hangout on the side of it. That'd be perfect. My wife literally behind me, I know you can't see, but this is actually a green screen, and behind this green screen is literally the most art supplies you can ever imagine. When I do interviews with people, you'll see like stuff blurred out behind me. Literally, that's all art supplies, and it's all my wife's. And yeah, so we always joke that she has like a small art supply store behind in our office here. So anyways, there's always something around that I could probably grab that would be like that. But anyways, okay, back to this. So let's add some more random velocities into this, right? So we can get a little bit of a nicer simulation here. So yeah, this is animating, so that's cool. Maybe what we'll do instead of doing it quite this way is let's change this up a little bit. So instead of having it add the noise from 0, let's add a default value up here to our velocity. So let's have it just go to the side, right? And this way, let me turn on my grid, right? So this way we're just going in the positive X direction, right here. So in this scenario, now when we bring it over here, instead of saying set always, we can add to it, right? We can do the amplitude at like 1. And in this case, actually probably even smaller than that, like 0.5 maybe. In this case, it's going to kind of, as someone who doesn't know anything about, well, welcome to the stream for someone who doesn't know anything about Houdini. This is great. Yeah, there's lots to learn. Really recommend, if you're starting out, checking out the Houdini start here page or whatever. There's one under the learning on the actual side effects page. Now a friend of mine, Moeen, has done the Houdini. He's doing the Houdini is hip, kind of. It's like a newer, like an updated intro course to Houdini. Highly recommend his stuff. He's a really great teacher and a super nice guy. So check out that stuff if you're new to Houdini. So a little shout out to Moeen and his brother Mooj. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're basically taking this vector that's going this direction, and now we're just adding some noise to this. So we can actually maybe do something more like that, and this will just kind of loop it around in that direction, you know? So let's see. So we're changing the element size here to get a bit more noisiness, randomness here. So that should be good. Cool. Let's try that. Let's see what happens there. Let's go back to our camera 1 and just. Let's go a little further with this because I think. All right. So instead of changing the amplitude here to 0.5, I'm just going to have to think about this a little bit. I really don't want to change the direction or the length. Maybe I do direction only. do add noise. Yeah, I think this might be what I want to do. I don't particularly want it to be changing. I don't want it to be going higher. That's for sure. Let me just undo that. Maybe that's what I do. Nope. Well, let's try this. Let's really give it a good push. Let's try 2. And maybe change this a little bit as well. Get this a bit more spiky looking. Let's see what that does. Might not do anything good, but we'll give it a shot. Let's do this. 5. Okay. Okay. There we go. We're getting a little bit of a different shape here. So that I think is more of what we're looking for. A little bit more of something random like that. So let's do this. See what that does. Okay. All right. We're getting something. Wow, that's a bit intense. No, so it's a great question, Zach. Is it he's asking if the velocity is only calculated on the birth frame? No. It is going through the simulation, and I'll show that to you again here. So what I'm going to do is let me just grab the sourcing here. I think this is both of them. So if I was to take this and just stretch it out a bit longer, I'm going to pin that actually, and then shift. Oops. No, they're both there. What's going on? Oh, okay. Sorry. Man. Interesting. Very interesting. I was kind of thinking that was more of a vellum thing. So now I'm really questioning what's going on there with that crash. I keep having that random crash, like once a session. Hopefully only once this time. Weird. I have a feeling it's something like I'm using my graphics card for like 10 different things right now. So I'm guessing it's something there, but I think it's graphics related would be my guess. Let's do this. Yes. It's loading up to frame 63, which I don't want it to do. Okay, so let me just see where we were here. There we go. That's both of them in there. Cool. All right, so if we watch this now from Cam 1, and let me just resave this just to make sure it's the good one. There we go. So if we take this, reset it, you can see that actually does update now constantly throughout the whole simulation, right? So if we watch that back, it goes like that. So it does calculate it constantly. It just is such a short little burst that I have set up that you're probably not going to see too much with it. Let's look at this animation thing here again. I think I had this only to like 12. What we could do here is take this and maybe just let's see, Mattis, wouldn't it be enough to use the limit source range so you don't have to animate the sourcing? Yeah, I mean, you could do that as well. You could limit the source range here to 1 and 12. Yeah, that would definitely work. I think what that would do, though, is just give it a hard cutoff. I can try that real quick though. Let's do that. See what happens here. So yeah, we definitely have that working. So that would work as well. I think the reason I was doing it the way I was just so that I could simply so I could take those so I could actually like have that just come out for even quicker burst than those 12 frames. So that was why I was doing it that way. Yeah, you could certainly change it. This is just kind of giving it a quick little burst and then it kind of dies off. But yeah, you could do that for sure. Yeah, it's definitely an option. Yeah, there's always a million different ways to do everything. So yeah, so similarly, what I could do there is take this, change limit source, say this at 6 and 12, and that'd be pretty similar, I think. Yeah, it's going to be fairly similar. So that's an option as well. Just going to undo that. Cool. And the only difference here is that this one's going to trail off like from full emission down to 0, and the other one is going to just be a cutoff, like a hard cutoff. So, you know, slight difference, probably not a huge visual. Let's see here. Go back to cam 1. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm going to get a little closer to this because this is not going to give me much useful information from that distance. So let's do this. Let's get a little closer to it. So those old caches won't really matter too much. But let's see this from this angle. Yeah, it's kind of doing something interesting. The thing that I'm really surprised by is how much this is. Like, that's pretty crazy. Maybe the reason that looks so nuts is because it's actually more like that. Yes. So I believe the velocity vector, how does that work? The other one seems longer, I think, than these, what do they call these? The motion point trails. I think that's longer because this takes into account the frames per second, I think. So maybe that's why looking at the other one's not super helpful, because it makes it feel like it's going to be this gigantic, huge thing, which it really isn't, you know? So, so just as a reminder, this amplitude is going to be how far it pushes, and the element size is going to be kind of how many different random directions. So if we change this, let's see here, from, let's say 0.15 right now to 0.5, it's going to be quite a bit more directional in its noise, right? So if we come down here, it's going to be quite a bit more in one direction than if we're doing 0.15. This is going to kind of push it out in a few different directions. And that's why we're getting that kind of different streaky kind of effect going on there. Cool. But I think that's it's kind of doing some interesting stuff. I like what this is doing so far. So let me just up the resolution on this again just a little bit, just to maybe get a little bit higher quality look here. Okay, so we've got this simulation going, right? And what we could do is we could have multiple, we could have set up multiple different little spheres and sources and things like that that are going to come into it. However, what we could do instead is take this as an instance and copy it around in our scene to kind of source it multiple times with a bit more of the kind of copy to points workflow that some of us might be used to. So hopefully this will make sense as we start to think through it. I have a thing that I had actually set up a while ago. I'll show it to you real quick. This is quite a bit more involved. But more or less what we're doing here, let's see, I'll zoom out. So this is a system that's basically taking this library of kind of sources and injecting them into the scene based on a number of points here. So each of these points, as we go through here, these will be the source points for those different parts. There's actually like fireballs that are moving here. So I have the fireballs moving the whole time. And if we watch this is our pyro solver. This is minimal OpenCL mode. And so if I play this back, it actually plays back pretty quick, like 10 frames a second. And you can see it's quite a few voxels. And so we've got some fire stuff, we've got smoke stuff, and it's all kind of just blasting around and doing stuff here, right? But each of these are we have like 4 different sources that are actually going off in there. And so it's pretty lightweight to be able to do all of this. You don't have to do some crazy field of sources. It kind of knows how to copy those around and stuff like that. So this is sort of obviously this isn't what we're going to do here, but this concept is what we're going to do. And so we're going to create this pyro library using these pyro source packs, merge them all together, and we will then have several, what? Hello? Oh, I think I just have to go back. That's the problem. So here we have different frame lengths for these. We have names for each of them, and then some rules kind of packed into an attribute here. But you can see that this is sort of similar to what we're doing. Obviously, in these cases, we're using the trail paths and trail source and a burst source and stuff. If you haven't used these before, they're really neat. They're just little point clouds, basically, that you can use as sourcing material for explosions and things like that. And they're just animatable. You can change parameters and stuff like that. So anyways, these are all going to be, basically that. But what we're going to do is this kind of thing here, because we have, no, I believe it works with the regular solver as well. The minimal solver is just faster, so it's easier to see it, right? Like, obviously that huge sim would take quite a bit longer. I can see if it works. Let's see. We'll just do sparse. Let's see how this goes. Oh, go back. Yeah, so this is the sparse simulation. And this is obviously going to slow down more and more as the bounds grow and stuff like that. So yeah, it works either way. It's not a problem of only working with the sparse solver. In fact, the quality will be obviously much better with this solver. But you can see how slow it gets, right? So it's really what it's about making those kind of quick style decisions at the beginning, right? Because here we are 72 frames, not even 72 frames in, and I'm like, okay, I think I see what's happening here, but like the cache is already filling up all this craziness. But if we go back to the minimal solver, just play it down, you can see we get about 10 frames a second the whole time. And it's going to look a little different, right? It's not going to be perfect, but obviously this you can evaluate much, much better. And the lower this goes, obviously the faster the whole sim goes is from top to bottom. But you can make some pretty quick decisions in here and be able to kind of see what you're dealing with once you get to your final solve, right? And like I was saying, some of these are moving, like those fireballs are moving. They're just constantly emitting a source, right? So they're moving around on those points. We'll kind of walk through this a little bit because it looks a little complicated, but basically all we're going to do is just take this chain right here, because this is more or less what we've done, where we've got a pyro source, we've done some stuff to it, rasterized it, and then we're going to pack it here. And that's going to be kind of the source that we use. And then we can create all of these different we can make a little cloud of points and just let it go and just kind of push that same little burst around a few times. And then similarly, what we could do is say, oh, okay, well, we like that one burst, but maybe we do another burst that we like as well and just see what that looks like. And, we can kind of play around with that and just give it maybe a few different random results and kind of go from there. Give it some different options. But so anyways, this is kind of a neat little thing here. And more or less, we're gonna do this concept, just not quite so involved. But yeah, so we'll do this and then go from there. So, all right. So the first thing we're going to want to do is pack this. So we've got this thing that's looking good. In fact, I'm just going to move this camera back just a little bit more so we've got a little more room. Cool. And all right, so let's do a pyro pack, source pack. Yeah, let me just drop it right on top of it there. Okay, so we'll go back to the beginning here. I'm going to open this up so we can see our attributes and things like that, so we can kind of make sure we're doing this properly. This is going to get put on here. And what we're going to do is, I just blasted my knee as I was shifting. That was fun. There's a few things here that we can set as well, frame ranges and things like that. So let's set this up. So we want to bring in, we don't need flame, we don't need temperature, we do need velocity, and we need density. So really those are the only two we need. Frame range is going to be, what did we have it here? Sourcing. So we had this at, so we'll say it's 6 to 12. We'll just do that straight up. We'll just do 6 to 12. 6 to 12. What is the reference frame? I'm forgetting what that means again. Okay. So the reference frame is basically just this is like the frame that the packed information is getting created on, more or less. So that's what we're seeing here. So I think if we move away from it there. Yeah. So it's all referenced from frame 1. And then when we get to the end of this, which is going to be 6 frames or there, 7, that's 6 frames after, it's going to disappear that frame. So this reference frame is just basically saying what frame this is created on. You could give it a reference frame of 10, and then that will get created on frame 10. So anyways, that's what's happening there. So let's call this, I don't know. We'll just call it sphere 01 because it's just a sphere that we're putting out there. Sorry, I might be missing the chat. I just put it away. There we go. Sorry. So yeah, so we've got our sphere 01 here. So that is really weird. I don't know why this says rigid body pieces. Pyro source pack rigid body pieces. I don't know what that means. Very interesting. Oh, cool. Okay, so the rigid body pieces are if you want to pack fractured objects or multiple objects as collision geometry for pyro volumes. Cool. Got it. Okay, so this is sphere 01. It's coming in like so. And what we want to do is we're going to just say, just going to put a null here. And this will be where any of our pyro packs come in. So we'll just say maybe pack sphere 01. We'll just call this pyro lib for like library. I'm going to color that yellow just because I like my sort of in the middle of the process nodes to be yellow. I'm just going to align that. Looks like I'm screaming when I do that. I always enjoy that. Okay, so we've got that done first of all. The next thing we're going to want to do is make something that we're going to scatter these into, right? Because we want to actually scatter these points. And this is not going to be what's plugged into the first input of our pyro solver. We're going to do a pyro source instance here. So this is going to be our, you can see this here says packed source sets. So that's this. And then here is going to be the spawn points. So let's take this, we'll put that into there. We need spawn points, right? So let's do something, let's just do a sphere again, so we'll keep it all kind of in a relatively small area. We'll say give this, I don't know, 8. And let's do a mountain on this. Just get it deformed a good bit. Like so, maybe. Just thinking of what we can do to kind of warp this a little bit more, but that's fine. That's fine. Let's do a I think this would work if we did this and just did good jitter scale like so. Just want to see what the output looks like without seeing that. Is there a way to turn off that guide geometry? No. All right, maybe something just like that. We've got some random points. Cool. I'm going to also give this a like a random normal value, basically. So let's do this. I'm just gonna plug that in there. This I'm gonna call spawn points, just so we have the reference for that input. So just like with a copy to points, we can control kind of the direction for these. So I'm going to do an attribute adjust, actually do an attribute noise because this has some interesting stuff in it. It's a little different. Similar, but slightly different. So here I'm going to say N instead of V. I'll just turn on the normals there. Yep. Cool. And we're going to say 0 centered, amplitude of 1. And I'm just going to do... Oh, wait. Where is this? Is it the old attribute noise? I'm just remembering that there was a, there's like an inside of a sphere. Whatever. This will be fine. This is going to be fairly random anyways. And I'm just going to make sure they're unit length so that they're normalized. And let's do something like that. Cool. There we go. They're in random orientations. That should be fine. So that is going to work nicely for us because what we want these to do is kind of randomly spawn. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Man. Yeah, so I don't know if it's going to be that different, but so it's attribute randomize. Sheesh. Sheesh. All right, let's see if this is any different. I'm sure it will be, but interesting. Those aren't actually normalizing. I thought they would. No, whatever. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for the reminder. I knew my brain just was doing something stupid. I don't need to recompute normals since we're making normals. Okay, so that is one part of this. I'm just gonna look and see if there's anything else. Name, no, that's fine. So let's do this. So we'll do a pyro spawn sources. And these are just going to start making attributes for us, right? So that's kind of the important thing here, right? On these points, we're going to start getting different attributes that are kind of controlling this, right? So in this case, we have, like this is basically just giving us these attributes to start frame, start offset, source speed, blah, blah, blah. So this is going to be the same start frame, which we want. And what we're going to randomize is the start offset for these. So that'll be good. We can also adjust things like source speeds and offsets and different things like that. But this is going to be controlling how this pyro source is instanced. So let's do this. Let's do a time shift. And let's delete this. Sorry, delete channels. So I'm just going to make sure that we're time shifted from here just to 1 so that we always are going to have the first frame here. So we're not, like, if we move this around, we're not evaluating this chain somewhere else. So this way, because these all start at 1, we're going to have all of the attributes from them here, like in our name and the frame length and all these things. So that's just going to, we'll just say first frame. And so that's good. So then what we're going to do is we're going to do an attribute, attribute from pieces. And in this case, it really doesn't matter, but we'll just do it. We'll just do it this way so that if we do add more in, we'll be able to randomize it basically. So in this case, our attribute from pieces is just going to be looking at the name. We're going to say random, even though it's not going to get randomized right now. And we can say piece weights and just autofill our pieces right now. And it's just sphere 01 for the moment. This basically what it's doing is it's going to take each of these and if we had different ones, basically different sources, it would randomize these names based on the list basically, and you could just have them randomly pick or whatever from them. So so that's obviously very helpful as well. I'm just looking at something here. So I think the only other thing we really need to do at this point is change this. Where is it? I think it's start frame, start offset. So we can just randomize this start offset here. And so let's just randomize that. So let's do start. Oh, sorry. We'll just do an attribute adjust float there. And let's do this. We'll take the start offset. It's a point. Don't need to do anything there. Let's just do this as not a constant, but as a random. Min and max. Let's just say I don't know. Let's do 6 and 72. I don't know. That sounds good. So this is going to put some random start frame offsets in here. In fact, let's just go. We'll just do, 6 is fine. So there we go. We've got some random values in there for them. The start offset. Now, the thing I'm just trying to remember is if this needs to be positive or negative. It looks like I have them negative over here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust them by step size of 1. Basically what that's going to do is just allow me to round these all, which is kind of nice to just get round start numbers. So what we actually want to do instead of add, let's do subtract. So this is going to be a negative offset. So for whatever reason, that makes them go forward. I don't know. That logic is missing in my brain at the moment, but mind you, it should work. All right, so let's see here. So we should have our points coming in. Why am I not seeing those? Nope, that's actually not true. I shouldn't see the points coming in. Let's just visualize our sources here and see what happens. Where are our points? There they are. I must have missed one thing here. What did I miss? All right, well, let's see. Let's see if this is working. It may. I'm just going to delete those because those aren't going to be needed there. And for source type, I'm going to bring in, instead of individual volumes, I'm going to bring in packed sets. And the source library for it, we're going to grab this pyro library. Okay, so that is not bringing it in for some reason. Why is that? Sorry. Sorry, just looking at this over here to see this other project, just to make sure I'm making sense of this. All right, just want to, let's see, offset length. Oh, that's weird. Why did that not bring that in? I thought I saw that in there. I'm very confused now. Could have swore I saw the names in here. Okay. Oh, I see. It's not putting it into the right spot. What is that about? Let's see. Do I have to do this? And then... why is it doing that? What am I doing here? I am a little confused on that one. Oh. No, that's not it. I was going to say I'm not matching copying the attribute. Maybe that's what I want to do. Why is it making this name? this is very confusing. Yeah, Tom, that's interesting. Yep, might not want to overwrite. No. So if I take this spawn after, put it there, right? It's still writing this as a underscore underscore name, which I have a feeling is something wrong? Question mark? That's usually what I've seen people do for like attributes that are internal to nodes, like here. Sorry, allow editing. That's detail attributes, name string. What is this? What is this looking for? Oof, that's a weird one. I don't know what's going on there. So piece attribute should be name. Okay. So that worked, but that doesn't work. Yep. So interesting. Okay. Now that's overwriting it. Okay, let me try this. This is what I did before, actually, now that I'm seeing this, and I wonder if this was the issue. Attribute delete. Huh. That is really strange. I don't know why. Sorry. Don't know why that has to be that way, but this is apparently... I don't like that. That seems weird. If you want it to even be an... I wish there was a way to turn this off because you want the source name to come from here. Okay. Anyways, what we can do, this doesn't even matter. You don't need to put a name here, but basically we're just deleting this empty name here, and this is actually making it work, which is really strange, but it is what it is. So this makes it so that it doesn't use that temporary file name. Okay. Anyways, now we're in a good spot. Hopefully this will all play back now. So yeah, I'm not sure why that's the case, but hey, here we are. Okay, so now let's take a look at these. I'm going to turn those off. There we go. So what you're seeing here is these are the points, and they're going to disappear once they're done. Once they're done with... oh, interesting. Okay, so it's counting down that frame offset, so that's why it's a negative. So you can see that these points exist here, and they're slowly getting kind of zapped out of existence. And if we turn on visualize sources, it'll be the same thing, except we'll actually see the sources kind of get emitted in here, right? So that's going to be our sources. So let's see. So I think what's happening here is these are all going in the same direction. And so, yeah, so these are all pushing in the same direction. And this is probably where, where something like the scatter align node would be really helpful. So this is all, these are working. They're just all coming in at the same orientation now. So just trying to think here. Actually, what I could probably do is do lab instance attributes. And let me throw this in here. Yeah, this is what we want. So we're going to output orient, p-scale, scale, instance, blah, blah, blah. We could output things for Unreal and Unity with this, but we don't need that. So yeah, we can change these all pretty randomly, but there we go. Randomize rotations in 3D. That looks good. I'm not going to randomize the P scale on them, I don't think. I don't know if that'll even work or not, but it's fine. Cool. All right, let's try that. Let's see if that works a little bit better for us here. Let's go to camera 1. Huh? What? Doesn't like that. We don't want to do that. Oh, okay. I see. We don't want to get rid of some of these attributes here. So this thing is actually cleaning up some things. Point attributes to keep. We need to keep a bunch of these. So we need to keep a lot of these, actually. Okay. This is just going to be more annoying than it's worth. We can just do a scatter and align. I think that'll do something sort of similar for us. And what we can do is add attributes to existing point cloud. And let's see here. If we check and do this with orient, we'll get that. Great. And don't we already have a normal coming in here? Or am I mistaken? We do have a normal coming in. Hello, orientation. I don't know what this is doing. It's so weird. I don't know. I'm having such a weird issue tonight. To the star to the rescue. So where is our orientation coming from here? Because there. Okay. All right, let me try something. Here. So I'm going to try to set the orient here and see if this does it. So we're going to set this to orient. Yep. Side of sphere, this should be a 4-dimensional thing. Okay, that's looking right. Gives us some random orientations. Let's just give that a go. I don't know why that align wasn't working, but that's okay. All right, let's go back to our camera. There we go. Now we're getting something a little more interesting. So this is now working from our packed sets, right? So this is one source that's being sourced multiple times in here, and we're able to kind of move it around, change the orientation, things like that. I'm going to change this to be minimal CL, see how that works for us. That's a lot of voxels. Let's turn that down, maybe. All right, let me see, because what we might be running into a problem here is just that this bounding box is too big. And that's possible. So, yes, that is most certainly what's going on here. So let's do sparse. And I think we won't see that. Yes, that's why. So let me just get a little sense of how big this actually should be here. So let's see, size, maybe not even, maybe 4 will be fine. I mean, this is pretty large. So let's see. We're going to go back to setup. I'm going to go to minimal OpenCL. Now the bounds have been created like this. And oh yeah, look at that. We can actually see it. So let's just scale this down. The reason, obviously, that this is going to be better for the minimal OpenCL is that with that, it's actually a dense grid. So it needs to fill this whole grid up the whole time. And so for that reason, you don't want to do, you don't want to do it in some sort of huge area, because any extra that you're not going to end up needing, it just kind of goes to waste. So, and with it being a dense grid like this, the simulation will basically go the whole time at more or less the same resolution. So it's not going to be, or at the same frames per second, right? So it's not going to be slowing down as it goes further and further. It can just kind of roll it the whole time with its current settings. So let's just do this at 3. We're just going to get better and better kind of responsiveness to this as we go forward. So this, yeah, it's not too bad. We're getting about 11 frames a second there throughout the whole thing. And now this way, because we're using those packed instances, it allows us to be able to source into this at any time that we want to. With the normal minimal OpenCL workflow before, you weren't able to actually do this with how do I want to say that, with sources that were going like past a certain range, right? So it had to more or less import all of your sources here from a certain time. So if you do individual volumes here, you'd have to limit this source range here to like this, like 12 frames or something. So it would only be able to have like an explosion at the very beginning and then maybe trail off into some other stuff. So with these packed sets, it allows us to now have these sources that are calculated at the very beginning and then can be kind of injected into this simulation at any point. Another thing I just noticed was that this max substeps was at 2. So that's why we were running into a little bit of a slowdown there. So we should be able to go to like even down to this scale and be at a pretty good playback speed. Now, I should, again, this is going to be super reliant on your graphics card, you know, hardware and all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind. It's certainly not going to all be the same. I kind of wonder if we couldn't randomize some more things here, like I wonder if we could do that. I'm going to put another attribute adjust float here and just see if we can't. Let's do source speed. I want to see if we can randomize this speed a little bit here. So let's do this. I'm going to turn off the step size. We'll just set this to add. And this will just give us some random source speeds there between 1 and 2, basically. We can just randomize that a little. All right, let's see what that does. Bring this up just a little bit. Let's go kind of crazy with this. I'm just curious if this would actually, like how much this will actually, if it's going to go faster or if it's... Okay, so I think what this is actually doing is just how quickly it plays back, which means that it's just not going to source as much velocity into it, which is okay. What we could do instead is we could make another one of these that has a different option. So let's just do this here. We'll do a merge. Cool. And what we're going to do here is let's just change our velocity a little bit. So maybe on this one we'll do, I don't know, 20. Double it. Why not? I'm going to turn this back off. So what this should do is this should pull in our attribute from pieces, and we have it on uniform distribution, but that's okay. We can do so here we have our, now we have our two, oh, right, that one's not named something different. That's the problem. So let's call this sphere 02. So this pack sphere needs to have its own name right here. It's got the same frame range, which is fine, but now it has sphere 02. So now we have these two. We have sphere 01 and sphere 02. If we come down here and look at our points, I actually think we should have randomization here a little bit. Not too much, though. Weird. That was just like super, like not random. So weird. So let's just do this. Let's do piece weights and we'll autofill the pieces and there we go. That's a little more random. We've got 1 and 2. Cool. So now if we do this and simulate it, we'll have some that are going to be faster, some that are going to be slower. And what we could probably do now too is since we have some that are even faster, we could actually turn up our viscosity. So let's do that. Let's do this to like 0.5. See where that gets us. And why don't we just change this noise seed a little bit as well? There maybe? Sure. So what this should do for us is, should be able to change this a little bit. So we'll just change our offset here a little. And that should give us a bit different of a shape too. So we'll get some more maybe unique shapes in here. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. All right, let's actually up this a little bit more. We'll do this to maybe 75. Interesting. So now those are actually a little bit too weak. So we don't want to do that, because we're not getting any interesting shape from the other one. So let's do this. Let's change this down to like 6, and we'll change this to maybe 15 instead. We'll go from there. But hopefully you can see how quickly you can kind of make these different simulations work with using the minimal OpenCL solver in here. And it kind of just allows you to really iterate a lot quicker than really you could before, I would say, like with it just using the sparse solver. And the more confined you get with your space, right? Like the more that this bound is limited, the faster and higher quality you can go with it, right? So just as an example, let's roll this through to the end. Now, the one thing you can't do with this is like scrub it. You can't scrub back and forth in the minimal one. So that's the only kind of weird part about it. But let's see here. Yeah, we could probably still reduce the size of this a little bit more even. Something like that. Cool. And now this should play even faster, I would think. Yep. So now we're getting, pretty decent frames per second here. At a fairly high resolution. So if we were to do this down even a little more, should probably be able to get back to pretty reasonable spot. Kind of cool. So yeah, I guess it depends on which direction you want to look at it from here, but we're getting kind of some interesting little effects and things happening here. So let's do this. I still think that's a little too high, so let's do 10 back here. Seems like that's actually creating a bit more force just based on the way that noise pattern is kind of working out. So let's do this. We'll go back to our shape. We'll set this down, kind of bring it back down a little bit more so that we're not. Yeah, that's feeling pretty nice. Cool. That's looking pretty fun. Let's try something else here. Let's see if we can't. Can we get some color in here, I wonder? All right. So maybe we'll do one of these like an orange color, and maybe we'll do the other one I don't know, a light purple. Kind of fun. Some, what's the word? Complementary, I believe is the word. All right, so we're gonna need to rasterize those. So let's do that. Let's do CD as well and rasterize CD here. So we're getting those three attributes rasterized. And we're gonna add in another one here. And this is going to be, not sure, maybe copy? Because we don't want to add the color. Let's do copy. It's going to be a vector. Source is going to be CD. Target field is going to be CD. Let me just see what this expects for sourcing on that side of the... Yeah, I think CD is what it's looking for. Let's just see here. Yeah, field is CD. There we go. Cool. All right, so that'll be simple enough. So we're just going to source that in. All right, CD and CD, copy, source scale. And we'll do the same thing here. Copy vector, CD, and CD. Yeah, let's see what happens. I don't know if that's going to actually put it in there. No. Okay. So sourcing fields. We got turn on color for a field. Let's see if that works for us. Oh. Oh boy. Hey. Well, that's kind of interesting. Oh, right. You need an alpha in there as well. I forgot about that. So I think if you do this, yep, you have alpha in there as well. So I think we want to bring that alpha in as well. All right. Well, it is coming into it. It's just not staying. Why is it not staying? What about 1? We set that to 1. Interesting. Maybe we wanted... Oh, right. I'm not actually putting the alpha in here. Copy alpha. Yeah, I guess. We'll see. See if that works. These might want to be... they might want to be adds instead of copies, but we'll see. Hey, there we go. Interesting. Why is default alpha at 0? Oh, maybe that's saying like how much of the the default color will be added into it. That must be what it is. So what I think is happening there is that it's saying that the default color is kind of just wherever it's not seeing a color in there. So I think that it was getting some of this white kind of sourcing in it or something like that. But that seems to be working. It's kind of interesting. That's that. So the blur is actually going to try to like blur between all of those different values, which obviously you don't want too much, but maybe a little bit. Interesting. Oh, right. We're sharpening that like by a crazy amount. We don't really want that. It's just playing around here a little bit, but it's kind of interesting. Got some colors kind of flowing in there. Obviously, you don't need to go so bold with the colors, but gives you a pretty good visualization of what's going on there. And we're getting a little bit of blurring between them. Maybe you don't really want it to blur. That's totally fine. That doesn't need to happen. I think the dissipation is this, and I'm not sure what that's actually doing other than making it look really sparkly. So it's dissipating the alpha. Interesting. That's what it's doing normally, only dissipating the alpha. The nice thing about this minimal solver as well is that it's basically, as you check things on and off, it's just running. So like you can turn the dissipation off just like that. You can change the default alpha here and it should adjust based on, however you might. Now that one actually started at the very beginning, which is a little different, but these ones here, like dissipation, blur, and sharpening, were happening from the actual, like as you were adjusting it and stuff like that. So, the blur could be something interesting. Radius is probably too much. So maybe 0.25, something like that, just to give it a little bit of blending. Kind of interesting. Yeah, so obviously we could continue to add more and more of these to our simulation. Here we could say this is sphere 03, and instead of the color being one of those, we'll do, I don't know. Let's do maybe one of these would be fun. Maybe we'll do an aqua. So now we've got another one in there. That should randomize it here on these points. Nope, actually, sorry. I'm just going to autofill the pieces here just to make sure we're getting all the pieces through as you would want them. You could still do the uniform distribution. That'll just kind of randomly distribute them. So that could work as well. But so in this case, you don't have to worry about redoing the pieces. So kind of up to you. But yeah, there we go. We got other colors in there now. The other thing we can do is we can change the noise of this one to give it a different offset there. And now that should change kind of the whole look and feel of that simulation, because we're going to have more random kind of shapes that it's going in and things like that. So, there's a lot of different stuff that you can do here. If you wanted the noise to be less, less direct, kind of omnidirectional like this, you might want to do something where it, where it's only going in one direction, and then your orient really affects that, right? In this case, we're kind of just randomizing the orient. We're not really specifically giving it a direction or anything like that. And now that I'm watching this, you could actually even probably up the viscosity a little bit. Let's do it something like that, 5.5. See where that goes. Yeah, so probably what I would also think might make sense here is to have these be maybe a little bit shorter in duration. You could also animate the values of these over time, right? Just like we were animating our sources down here, because now these have hard cutoffs, right? They're starting and stopping like instantly, and so it's giving it that really sharp look. So what you could do is you could start and stop them, like kind of have animation curves for them coming in and out so that it's not quite so harsh as they're getting kind of sourced in here. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting getting some weird little results here with this, right? Kind of fascinating. So this would bake it down, or this is baking it to yeah, that's actually not even what we would want. But what we could do is do something like check this out with the sparse solver and see how that goes. So this is now technically the better, quality solver, right? So we're going to get a bit of a nicer result here, right? Than we're going to from the other one. And it's going to solve with the, like I said, with the sparse nature. And so this one we can actually scrub through now. So now we can actually scrub through this and look at what it's doing. We can also go to our output here and make sure it's a VDB. And we could use 16-bit floats to save some storage space. And we could resample our velocity and things like that. And that's going to make our outputs quite a bit smaller, right? So even just converting it to a VDB is going to save you a ton of unused voxel space. It's a much more efficient file saving method. And yeah, so you could, certainly do that. And let's just get a little crazy here. Let's take this and we'll do a file cache here. And we'll save this as a VDB and say pyro cache. And we'll put it in hip sim. Time dependent simulation. Let's just save it to disk because it's right there. It's ready to get saved. Cool. So that'll go through, write those all out as VDBs. And then let's do a null here just to make sure we have our out VDBs. And let's, why don't we do this? Since we normally don't, let's do a lop network and just say Solaris. And then we'll do a SOP import. We'll just grab the out VDBs. And there they are. Oh, let me do this. I'm going to switch over to Solaris. Cool. Okay. So we have this SOP import here. We've got our open VDBs coming in. which USD is totally happy with. So here's our SOP import. Let's just change this to viscous smoke. We'll do it like that. It's changing the name of our primitive here, viscous smoke. We have volume 0 inside of it with our fields. So that's good. This doesn't have a save path set. That's fine. We could just copy it into an editable layer. That's cool. Not going to yell at us then. Excuse me. Let's do a dome light. Just going to grab one of the default textures. Oh, actually, that's right. I have... it doesn't really matter. We'll just grab that one maybe. Cool. And let's do a material library. We'll do our pyro XPU. Actually, you know what? That's probably fine for right now, because I am not going to run this in XPU because on my graph, if it's on the graphics card, it's going to freak out. All right, let me just see here. Smoke is density. Let's see. Actually, let's see, karma. That's fine. We'll just do it in one of these because this is actually a little easier to remember which all works with it. So we'll just do it with the material X. And I think if we do the pyro preview, that actually will be fine here. This is the material X one, so that's fine. Although... oh yeah, I can't bring that in. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. I actually don't know the workflow for this with the color. Let's see here. USD. Nope. I don't know if this will work, but we're going to try. I don't think this is going to work. Oh, right there. Color with CD volume. I'm not even looking. Yeah, I just totally missed that. Yeah, it reads the color by default. Dummy. There we go. Okay, so we got materials, assign material. I've usually only done explosions and stuff like that with karma, so I haven't can't say that I've done that. All right, so we've got our pyro advanced shader. That's our material path. We're going to drag our volume into here. That's weird. Viscous smoke. Hey, there we go. Okay, interesting. Don't want to put it on the volume. All right, let's see if that does anything. Yeah. Cool. All right, I'm going to turn off the highlighting and the light. And there we go. We've got something happening. Let's see. Maybe if I go to my resources, I've got HDRIs in here. I don't know. Skate park? What does that look like? No, it's not very bright. There we go. That's kind of nice. Anyways, there's our weird... let's see. Just do a grid. Just throw that in here. Get a grid. Kind of look at it. There's our weird little smoky thing. Yeah. So hopefully that's sort of an interesting little workflow. And you can kind of see that it just grabs our colors and renders it and does the stuff we need it to, which is kind of nice. Actually, I think if I do a karma at the end here, this is going to help us too, because it'll probably give us some options. All right, there we go. There's our camera. Just throw that in there. It doesn't really matter. So it stops yelling at me. And yeah, so you'd probably want to adjust a little bit of these things. Make sure you've got, you know, more primary samples to get the noise down. You know, sure. But the great thing is that XPU also is fast. I just don't want to freak out my microphone and all the stuff I've got running through my GPU at the moment. So we'll just let that not freak out or anything like that. But yeah, we've got a little object here, which is kind of cool. Let that render out. But yeah, so I think that's probably where we're going to end the stream for this evening. Hopefully it's interesting to see. I know that I really enjoyed learning about the instancing workflow for Pyro. I think that's a super useful workflow to kind of understand. Obviously, in this case, it's not maybe the most effective thing, and it might, you know, might be valuable for this. It might not. Obviously, you can, you know, kind of judge for yourself. But certainly, like the explosion kind of workflow that I was showing, you know, could be a little bit better of an example of where that would really be useful. Yeah, no problem, Zach. I'm glad to be able to get some information out there for you. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's all you know, informative and good stuff, you know, to kind of get in your mind. Obviously, this scene I made here in Solaris is the messiest thing ever. So please do not be like, oh, Pete did it this way. This is the worst way you could ever have done this, but it works. And you can get it in quickly and make it work, especially if you don't, you know, fiddle around with what shader to use for too long. But yeah, so I think the instancing workflow is a really powerful thing because it kind of takes that copy to points idea and kind of pushes it into the world of, you know, pyro simulation. And it's unique. It's a cool way of being able to kind of work like that. Then it allows the minimal OpenCL solver to be even more useful than it ever was in the past. It was kind of more of a novelty before, but now I think it's actually really valuable to have that, to be able to check, you know, the results of your sims and stuff like that, or the results of this scattering kind of phase of the process a little bit sooner. So and if you are, so that's, I think, where we're going to end. I don't have any more questions or anything like that, but if you're from, Europe or whatever, and this is helpful for you, I mean, please let me know, like in chat or whatever. Like, I know it's a little bit earlier, so I know it's not like crazy early. And yeah, good night, man. Good chatting with you. Um, but you know, if you're from Europe or from other time zones, and you're like, man, 6 o'clock your time is way better for us, and we're able to be, you know, more a part of the stream and stuff like that. You know, drop me a line on Discord or something, and just kind of, even just in the general chat, wherever, and just say like, hey, yeah, really appreciated that. Or, you know, however, if you want to drop a note in the comment section below the video, or however, just curious to hear if that's something that's beneficial for you. Good, Tom. I'm glad. Yeah, I think what I might do is kind of maybe, you know, go every other or something like that, and kind of go back and forth time wise. I know it kind of makes it a little harder to know when it's going to be, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. If I'm hearing from a lot of people that the time is better, I might just switch over to it eventually. But the other thing I'm going to say is, next week I will be in Los Angeles for SIGGRAPH. Oh yeah, KG, am I still messing around with mops? Yes, I am. I had messed around with it a little bit, then got into all the vellum stuff, and yeah, I do still want to do some mops work. And so I think what I'm going to do is do kind of maybe a special little stream for a little bit, possibly starting in September, I think, just based on my time commitments and travel and stuff like that. Hopefully my travel will, for the most part, be done by September. And what I'm thinking is maybe we're going to do a little thing called Mops Monday, and have like just a stream on Monday that's kind of all motion graphics-y mops kind of stuff. I actually I got myself a copy of Mops Plus. So that's kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to do. So keep an eye out on the Discord and stuff like that for any announcements. But I think that's going to be the case. So let's just kind of put it in pencil on the calendar and say Mondays starting. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I will enjoy SIGGRAPH. Yes, some meetings, but also getting to well, meetings will be cool because I get to chat with a lot of really cool educators from all around the world. And so, but yeah, some sessions as well. So it should be good. So hopefully that sounds interesting to everybody. Having maybe a little extra stream for maybe the fall. And but I will definitely be making an announcement about that at some time in the next few weeks after SIGGRAPH. So next week, no stream. I'll be off. But following that, Wednesdays will be back on. So thank you guys all so much for watching tonight. And as always, you know, you can connect on the Discord server. Houdini Hangout has links to the stream, whether you're looking to get it on YouTube or Twitch. I'm also streaming on LinkedIn now. That's kind of weird, but whatever. It was an option, so I was like, hey, why not? Better to get your name out there, right? So if you found this somewhere and you're like, oh, I'd really like my more preferred method of watching streams, there's links through HoudiniHangout.com that you can get to. So that is it for this evening. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.